was los ist. Here, Joey,
Yeah.
having a strong signal here.
You sure it's on?
Yeah. Huh? Here.
I'm sceptical.
Are you?
Yeah.
No, not.
Yeah.
Kommt jetzt was. Ein ganz dickes Stück Eisen, höchstwahrscheinlich von einer Bombe, die explodiert ist. Also ausschlaggebend dafür war, dass meine Mutter mir erzählt hat, wie sie und mein Vater beobachtet haben, wie dieses brennende Flugzeug hier gecrashed ist. Und dass Piloten abgesprungen sind. Where? Ah, that you got to see now. A bullet. Most of them are empty. So it was produced in 1943. Die Sorge in mir, was ist aus diesen armen 20-Jährigen, so wie ich wusste, dass das ganz junge Burschen waren. Und ich habe auch gewusst, dass das höchstwahrscheinlich sie nicht sehr nett empfangen wurden. Vielleicht sind sie sofort erschossen worden, sind sie aufgehängt worden. Ah, schon da. Das war ständig in meinem Kopf. That's it.
Schwingarm.
Das war dann eigentlich so ein Bubentraum, ja, so ein Flugzeug zu finden wieder. Da ist wirklich das Kind in mir herausgekommen. Ah, Mist. Kleines Schräufchen.
Georg digs really deep into anything he's interested in. He was spending hours and hours and hours on the computer, checking things and checking emails and Google Earth. You know, put it all in, find out, then see the satellite view of it. Going down rabbit warrens in wrong directions partly, and then thinking you found something and then you haven't found it or whatever it was. So it was all very, very detailed.
My idea was first to just find the site where it had crashed. Wo war dieses Teil hier? And then I thought maybe I can find out more about the crew, but nobody really knew anything. I just started from scratch. Finally, a neighbor of mine, a policeman, said, well, why don't you go to the police archives? It's in a library now in Graz. I see it as it was yesterday. I was so excited to have this book in my hands. So I immediately went to the wartime and was really surprised because there was absolutely nothing. The moment the Nazis occupied Austria, the record stopped. And the moment the war was over 5 years later, the record started again. I was deeply disappointed. The guy in the library said, well, what are you looking for? And after a while, he showed me a book. In the back of that book, all Allied plane crashes in the years 43 and 44. It had the serial number of the plane, date, the place where it crashed. And I put that serial number in the Google search machine, And I came to an American veteran site. They had declassified information. It had even the names of the crew. I had next of kin, their father, their mother, or a sibling. And I had the town where they came from. Und der nächste Schritt war dann einfach zu versuchen herauszufinden, was ist aus denen geworden. Hallo, servus.
Wer klopft an?
Wer klopft an?
Komm schon. Ich hätte ein Glas Brödelwein. Sagt er das?
Ja, das trinke ich schon. Ja.
Ein paar schwarze Punkte, wie sie aus dem Flugzeug gesprungen sind und dann wieder Fallschirm aufgegangen ist das halt die Kuppel geworden. Na, und dann die Aufgabe eben, die Plätze zu suchen, wo diese Leute dort zu Boden gekommen sind. Das bin ich jetzt wirklich hinter oben, ja.
Du bist ja mitgegangen,
Ich bin
oder?
mitgegangen, der Vater war dabei und der aber mit seinem Pferdl hat den Verletzten dann runtergeführt. Der hat den am Karren oben gehabt, im Hai gebettet gewesen.
Du hast ihn angeschaut.
Ja, freilich. Ne? Ja, ja.
Was hast du gesehen?
Ich möchte sagen, der hat einen glücklichen Gesichtsausdruck gemacht, wie er gesehen hat, dass er jetzt in Händen ist, wo ihm geholfen wird.
Habt ihr Angst gehabt?
Sehr.
Ja.
Ich habe wahnsinnig gern so Sachen, wo du keine Ahnung hast, wo du hinkommst.
Haben wir Benzin genug?
Jetzt ist
Weißt
die
du, wo du
Frage,
bist?
jetzt muss ich schauen, wo ich bin. Aber ich glaube, hier war ich schon einmal. Ich bin ja da hier schon oft herumgefahren. Mal schauen, wo sind wir jetzt? So, ich würde sagen, irgendwo auf der Höhe, da wird der Daniel Perry gelandet sein. I made a map to show where the flight path ran over that hill where they jumped near Übelbach. It took me many months, actually. It's really very accurate now where at least those 5 came down. Charles Hahn must have come down. On the other side of the valley, Sim came down right at the bottom of the hill, then Downberry in the middle, Jim Helf on top, and then Seal landed on a big tree with his parachute but broke his leg and was hanging up there until somebody came to cut him down. Da oben, wow, so hoch noch. Wie hoch ist er jetzt noch?
170 Meter.
Nur 170 Meter. Jetzt
Okay,
müsstest
ja,
du
genau.
Da ist der arme Seal da oben gelandet. Boah, schon ganz nah dran. Ups.
You spell the last name for me?
Seal, S-E-A-L-L.
Okay. No one here by that name, ma'am.
5-3.
What am I supposed to say?
What are you supposed to say? Try and find out the best you can if the guy's still alive.
If this is a maintenance emergency, please press 0 to speak to an operator. Thank you.
Well, you could have spoken to an operator.
An operator's not going to help anybody. Off camera, it really has driven me nuts sometimes. And at some points I've thought this has really grown out of proportion.
Still a mystery.
Try this number again that we said was besetzt.
Ich gebe nicht auf, so leicht. Genau, das stachelt mich an. Ich habe keine Ahnung gehabt, wo das hinführt, nicht?
I got up to go practice drums. When I parked the car and here my cell phone rings with this strange number with 14 digits or something. Well, this is unusual.
It rang and it rang and it rang. Finally, somebody picked up. Hello, hello.
And here's this man with a strange accent. I want to get in touch with Mick Berry. And then, well, as a telemarketer, great, okay.
I knew that I had to be very fast with my story.
My mother saw your father's plane get shot down in Austria.
Mick then really was quiet for a moment.
Okay.
We both had goose pimples at that moment.
And he said, I want to find out what happened to the servicemen in the plane. I can tell you exactly. My father wrote it down, and I turned it into a one-person play.
It says, account by Daniel Barry of his experience in World War II. It was written right after he came home. He got a secretary and he dictated it to her.
Daniel Barry's report was a turning point because normally you wouldn't have anything like that. So that made this particular plane and its crew much more real. Number 2 engine was leaking a stream of gas through the flame in number 1. At any moment, the ship might explode. For the first time since I'd flown combat, I put on my parachute. Jim said, get the hell out of this flying coffin. I remember crouching in the hatchway and looking backward. I stopped thinking and tumbled out of the narrow hatchway into space. After waiting to be sure I was clear of the plane,
I pulled my ripcord while I was still facing downward. The chute, which is attached at the chest, smacked me in the face. I saw the silk emerge from the pack in a long, thin stream, and then as the air caught it, I was jerked suddenly and felt myself floating toward the ground. Zim was behind me. We called to one another as we fell downward.
Gary?
Yes, sir.
Wow, great to see you finally.
You must be George.
Yes.
Oh, well, good.
Well, good
And
to
Mary
see you.
Ellen.
Mary Ellen, so good to see you. I had managed to get in contact with the 6 descendants that came to Austria on the 75th anniversary of the plane crash of their fathers for a reunion.
All right. Okay.
Hello, hello.
Hey guys.
Hi.
Hey, here he is.
Wow.
You haven't met?
No, I've never met.
No, we've never met.
Zim's daughter, Sherry.
Gonna get a hug or anything? I mean, Jesus. Hey, it's good to meet you guys.
Apart in your arms.
That's all right. I bawled when I opened the letter that I got.
And you are Mick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's your dad in there.
Yeah.
My dad's in the middle, and that's Bob Zimmerman.
It's my dad. You have more pictures of my dad than I have.
That just proves how lifelong friends they were.
Es ist unglaublich, die haben sich untereinander nicht mehr gekannt. Und ihre Väter waren beste Freunde. Und jetzt sitze ich hier in Österreich am Computer und über den Computer gelingt es, die zusammenzuführen, um sich dann hier in Graz zum ersten Mal in ihrem Leben zu sehen.
What did you think when he got in touch with you?
When's he gonna ask for money? That's what I thought.
What does he really want? Yeah.
My father was called Jim Health. He was a flight engineer on the B-17. I just feel so blessed. I was real close to relatively close to my dad. Never lived more than 5 miles from my dad's house, and he helped me raise my daughter. But my dad never talked, but your dad did.
No, he didn't talk about it a whole lot. He never did.
You were the hardest one. You were really hard.
Hard to find. When I got the letter, I almost threw it in the trash. Because it was handwritten. I thought, well, okay, I'll open it up. And oh my gosh, I'm reading this letter and walking back to my bedroom and the tears are just rolling down my eyes. And I just couldn't believe that someone was actually interested. My father's name was Robert Zimmerman. He was the radio operator on the B-17. But you never found my sister, did you?
No.
Yeah.
Was she incognito?
Well, but she's been married even more often than I have, so it's even harder.
Your father had about 28 or 29 missions already.
So he was seasoned,
Yeah.
sort of.
Yeah.
My father is Charles Hahn. And he was bombardier in the front.
But they had a previous bombardier on another mission that was killed.
Oh, okay. Because
Yeah.
I knew he was a
And then
substitute,
they would,
but I
you
didn't
know,
know
and
the
then the
reason why.
Army would have to mix them up. My father didn't set out to talk about it, but in 1945 he hired a secretary and dictated the whole story to
Oh,
him.
that's wonderful.
One morning, in the tail of the B-17 was all this brain matter and guts from the previous tail gunner. As I started to hose it down, they said, "Don't worry, Sergeant, you won't suffer." Average tail gunner only sees 10 seconds of combat before he's killed. Tail gunners got killed because they'd run out of ammunition. The night before each mission, we'd break into the ammunition barracks and steal over 3 times what we were issued, so we wouldn't run out.
Look, these are all the bullets that we found.
Who did the?
God.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's this shiny part. It looks absolutely new, 75 years ago. It is the holder for the bombs. Yeah. Then it was quite deep in the ground. Yeah? I thought, what could they be? And we found out it's a walk-around oxygen bottle. Now this piece here, that's a big thing. You can hardly lift it. Yeah. As you can see, the propeller, this is exactly that part. We found these tiny little plastic parts. Our metal detector would have never found them, and they fit together. A navigator's slide ruler. For me, this is the most moving part, actually, because I know that George Gardean had this part in his hands. One B-17 is still flying in Europe. I managed to see the engineer, and he gave me that, and it shows you all the parts of the engine. And that helped me then to find what was what. That's exactly that, you know. I could go on and on and on, you know.
All of this you found since last summer?
Yeah.
All of it?
All of it, yeah.
And it was still there. No one
Yeah.
had ever been out there
No.
hunting for
No,
anything.
no.
It's amazing to me.
And that's when your quest started.
Yes?
There were 29 planes they left from Foggia in southern Italy. The mission was to attack Wöllersdorf, the big aerodrome of the Nazis. The plane had to turn around about 10 minutes before it reached Wöllersdorf because an engine started burning. The plane was shot down before it then finally crashed.
We were always afraid when we flew missions, every one of us. But we grew to love this fear and to welcome it. It was a companion one always had on these missions, and without this fear, I think any one of us would have been lost. Jim, I remember particularly, would always shake as though he had palsy when we went over heavy flak concentrations. Perhaps it was because we had been through that rough mission together that I knew better than others how he felt.
What a secret spot, huh?
Please welcome, this is Pater August. He's a representative of the monastery, the owner of the woods.
Nice to meet you.
Fein. Grüß Gott, willkommen.
Where do you feel the main fuselage landed?
Right there. It really hit the top here, exploded, and parts were thrown all over the place.
Yeah.
We just go in here.
You
yeah?
just find something now.
We might be lucky, maybe we are not. Ah, found already something here. So just dig more there.
Okay.
Mine.
Oh, there it is!
Yeah, you
Yay,
got a
we
bullet.
found one!
You got a bullet.
Yay!
Yeah.
Whoopee! I got
Unbelievable.
Thing.
okay.
Homo here. Most likely a rock. It's big.
Oh, there it is.
Oh.
A flak jacket.
Another
Flak jacket. Flak jacket. We call that a success, huh?
Oh, I think
Yes,
it was a
I think
success.
so.
Yeah, you didn't think we'd probably find
No,
anything.
no, nothing. I thought
Because you
maybe a
thought
few.
you'd done it all.
Yeah.
And there you go.
What did you get addicted once you found something?
Das ist nur eine Hülse
This
mehr.
is the bullet.
Das ist ein
Nein,
richtiger.
ein richtiges
Look
Geschoss.
at this. It's
Das war Pater August in den Flakwesten drinnen Schutz, nicht? Ja, wie eine Ritterrüstung eigentlich. Ja.
I'm so happy to see it. I'm so happy to be here. But thinking about your father being 23 and doing this, it's so hard to believe. And then to find a piece of a flak jacket, there's a connection.
Do you want to hang it very high? Or
Yeah, it's kind of the backdrop to the show. It's a parachute. I wrote it 20 years ago or something more than that. It's not just about my father in World War II, it's about my experiences with him. I know my father, he had an uncle that was a big-time Hollywood producer, and he went to live with him after he got out of the Army because he thought he might want to be an actor, but he didn't follow through with it.
We were hit like I had never been hit by flak before, and my own tail compartment was so spotted, I could not put my hand on
any part of the wall without covering 5 or 6 holes. 1 and 2 engines were both out. 3 and 4 superchargers were out. Number 1 was burning. Number 2 was leaking gas. Jim said there was only one thing to do.
Get the hell out of this flying coffin.
Jump! It was a wonderful feeling. When I looked up and saw my parachute billow out and catch the wind, interrupted briefly by the sound of our plane exploding.
Mr. Katzbauer will explain us now what they thought at the time. And C-17.
6.
6, yeah, 6 years. Okay. Yeah.
We need to get a little closer together.
Okay. And about where he's pointing now?
Haben wir gesehen, dass Gegenstände herausfallen.
They saw bombs falling out. They
Auf
saw.
einmal haben sie dann die Fallschirme geöffnet.
They realized it was the crew that jumped.
Und einer ist hier über diesen ersten Kugel dahinter gelandet. Mein Vater war Bürgermeister.
His father was the mayor of the village, and he went that direction where he saw that man coming down.
Und hat diesen jungen Soldaten gefangen genommen.
And he captured that young soldier.
Mein Vater war aber nicht bewaffnet.
He didn't have any weapons with him.
Diesen jungen Soldaten musste dann seinen Fallschirm allein tragen.
So he made him carry his parachute.
Und sie sind nach Übelbach hinaus und bei der nächsten Polizeiinspektion hat er den Mann abgegeben. Dieser Mann hat gebrochen Deutsch gesprochen.
Man was able to speak a little bit of German. A few words, enough to tell him that he had a few missions left. That for us is very clear to us that it's Cassis and Mary Ellen's father.
Pretty exciting. I never knew he could speak any German. Makes me sad.
We know more now than we did then. I was 6 weeks old when the plane crashed. And when he came home, he had a fairly brand new wife and a daughter he'd never met before. And he had what we think is now called PTSD. The alcohol and the abuse. Yep. Not a happy childhood.
I don't give a shit what the doctor says, Charlotte. I'm having another drink. The hell I ain't. You go to hell if you think you're going to stop me. Bitch, I said I'm having a drink. Trying to stop me, I'll knock you upside your head. Goddamn bitch, I said get out the way! Dad misses her with a chair. Mom runs and locks herself in my sister's bedroom. Dad starts kicking the door. My whole family lives in fear of my father. Every day, I live with the same awful thought. The best outcome is that he kills himself and doesn't take anyone else with him.
All these fathers came back extremely damaged, completely understandably. It must have been very, very difficult to be a wife or a child. So the children might have had very mixed feelings about their fathers, On the one hand, really wanting to know what happened, but on the other hand, maybe not wanting to know too much, actually. But then to actually go to the place where their fathers nearly lost their lives, how incredibly brave it was of them to come.
Seal, the one who broke his leg, yeah, landed on that tree that's still standing up there. He still remembers the parachute hanging up there a few years ago. They couldn't get it down. The silk was very valuable. They wanted it, yeah.
Oh.
They made even wedding dresses out of it.
6 der Soldaten haben im Haus drinnen Sterz gegessen. Für die hat meine Großmutter Sterz gekocht.
Sterz, a special meal that is just flour and water.
Und der 7., der Verletzte, ist da vor der Tortür verarztet worden.
Definitely your father would have been here, Sim would have been here, Jim would have been here. So they grouped them all together here after they were captured.
Genau in den Raum, wo wir jetzt hingegangen. Dort sind die Soldaten gesessen.
We will be sitting where your fathers were sitting in there.
Oh, gosh. Das Haus ist ungefähr gebaut worden vor 350 Jahren. Der Tisch ist an der gleichen Stelle gestanden. Die Leute, die da gewohnt haben, waren wirklich sehr arm. Das Einzige, was sie gehabt haben, war ein Sterz und ein bisschen Schnaps. Was anderes war nicht. Nachdem ich sicher bin, dass damals einen Schnaps gekriegt haben, müsst ihr jetzt einen Schnaps trinken. Also
in remembrance of what they had eaten.
Yes, Schnaps in English too.
Okay, good. Yeah, I think it's a very emotional moment for all of us. For you guys who came over from the States to celebrate your fathers who lived, and I think we should celebrate these kind people also who helped them in a very difficult time. So thank you very much to all of you. Cheers.
Auf nie mehr Krieg, oder?
Yeah, never again. Never again.
It's very good.
We wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for his family.
Yeah.
Wie wir gehört haben, sind alle gesund heimgekommen. Das ist eigentlich das Wichtige. Ja?
So very happy.
I wouldn't be here.
Super, gefreut uns. Hat uns wirklich gefreut.
Thank you.
As we walked down the hill, a man in a tan trench coat with a red armband and a black swastika you could see all the way to Berlin came up and took over custody of us 3. We were marched down to a mountain road and went approximately 15 kilometers to the small town of LAYBACK, where we were put in a prison.
And your fathers had to line up over there. The main SS man was standing here and he was shouting at them.
Ich weiß nicht, was da war, hat der gelacht, da ist er zu weit vorgestanden, jedenfalls ist er zu mir und hat den eingetreten.
Kicked him right into the middle of his leg.
Da drüben ist ein Mädchen gestanden, die hat dazu geschaut, alle sind rausgekommen.
So she was witnessing this attack of this SS man on this soldier.
Und hat den zusammengeschrien, also alles geheißen und hat den angeschmiert.
And she ran over and hit him so hard into the face that his hat flew off.
Was a brave girl of LAYBACK.
She was.
Yes. It was very dangerous for her.
Oh yes, of course it was.
She was about 20 years old when...
Käthe, wie alt wird die gewesen sein, war 7 und die war da.
And she only died, this woman only died 2 years ago.
Oh. 22. Und dann sind sie alle rauf und dort geheißen, die werden nicht alle erschossen.
And then he shouted to this girl, you know, you will all be shot anyway.
Und waren alles fesche junge Männer.
All very good-looking young men. Well, this is the end of our visit to LAYBACK now. Thank you for standing where your fathers were standing 75 years ago.
Hard to believe.
Okay.
Tell me when you're ready.
We are.
It's the most harmless girl.
There you go. Can't believe it.
I know.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're starting to ruin it, look.
Oh, I'm sorry. How?
Just hold it.
This woman took the bravery and slapped him in the face. I think it's a great story. It's a great story on the positive side.
Thousands of pilots came down in the area of Austria in the Second World War. 200 had been lynched by the local population that were actually not taken prison, but were murdered by the population where they had come down. So many little circumstances lead either this way or that way. Sometimes it's just a few words or the wrong person at the wrong moment in the wrong place. That's what happens when things go wrong.
It was a once-in-a-lifetime experience to come where my father had been and to relive all the memories. It just rekindled my whole father spirit.
It just makes you think about what he must have gone through that young when they were in the war. And they were just kids.
They were very brave men. I can't imagine what it was like to be in an airplane that was coming down and not ever having experience putting a parachute on, and then to be captured and put into a prison camp.
I found out a lot, and I'm so happy I came.
I understand now why my dad was antisocial. I think he just didn't really know how to overcome what happened to him. Now that I know that, I have a lot more appreciation for my dad and what he did.
As a prisoner of war, I have seen men shot for practically no reason. I have seen them kicked when trying to crawl down the road. I have seen men starving. I have seen men die. I arrived in New York Harbor on June 12, 1945, a year and 6 months after I left the States and 40 days after I was liberated. It is impossible to express the gratitude I feel towards those men who liberated us and to those who have helped us in all our troubles.
What's come out of it, I think, has been really actually quite incredible. It's touched a few people's lives, but it's touched a few people's lives very significantly. Basically, we're all just normal people. We're also alike. Maybe for them, they realise that the Austrians aren't all running around with long black leather coats with a swastika on our arm anymore. That sounds terribly superficial, but I think that's what it boils down to. Maybe there's some hope that by remembering, one can keep some sort of peace, that is a sort of preventative measure. And also realise how lucky we are. It's extraordinary that some person like Georg would go to all that effort, collect this all together and actually make something out of it.
Maybe.
But you can write to her now, and then she'll get it.
I would certainly write to her now. Today I came on it and I sort of look again, and then this here came up. For Mary Ellen Hahn, she wrote, "This year on the date of the crash, May 29, 2019, 70 years after the crash, I, along with my sister and 3 other descendants of the crew, visited the site of the crash. Dr. Georg Reuter has done much research for us and organized a wonderful experience for us to learn more about our father." And then I saw this answer, and this then gave me goosepimples.
My papa is William Orville Ogle. I can fill in many holes you have in this story.
I have never researched Ogle any further because I thought his daughters, or what I found out, are all dead. So suddenly I'm finding a descendant now of this Orville Ogle.
And she's got stuff.
And she has information and stuff that she would like to share.
Das ist eigentlich der Reiz in dieser ganzen Geschichte, dass du ständig stoßt du auf ungeklärte Sachen, wo du dir denkst, wie könnte es gewesen sein, was vielleicht so, du machst dir ein Bild drüber und dann kommt eine Antwort, die entweder dir bestätigt, was du dir ausgedacht hast, oder sie ist ganz anders. Bis zu diesem Moment, nicht, geht's weiter, ist noch nicht beendet. Okay.
But no, you can't go on forever. No. You mean when he's 90, he'll still be going with his metal detector in the woods? I don't think so.